Yo, before the show, I'd like to just say if you could like and share the podcast. I am a one-man show and I really do appreciate both the feedback and the support that you give. As a matter of fact, down in the comments, you can actually reach me directly if you ever want to share a message or get featured on the show. All right, let's get into the episode.
Are you still talking about football?
Yeah, Robert NFC North.
Then let's talk football.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Heading North, an NFC North podcast, and I'm your host, Detrone. It's late week already, and I'm pretty sure you already know how last week's games turned out. But that doesn't mean I can't still update you on how the Vikings knocked off the Jets in London, the Packers beat the Rams, and the Chicago Bears really went in and punched the Panthers in the face. Look, the Lions were on a bye week last week, so I got nothing for them except for looking forward to a Dallas Cowboys Detroit Lions matchup this week. But before I get into all that, let me tell you about our sponsor. Our sponsor for the week is offrackshop.com. Offrackshop.com is an online thrift store. They sell men and women's clothing, shoes, accessories, and more. So if you haven't already, check out the link in the description to get a discount on your next purchase at offrackshop.com. All right, let's splash into last week just a little bit with the Vikings versus the Jets. Now, the Vikings were 4-0. Coming in to take on a 2-2 Jets team that had been underperforming, and they're playing in London. Originally, I told you that the Jets would win this game in the preseason. Although, fortunes had turned just a little bit for the Jets, I thought they would still come in and knock off the Vikings, giving them their first loss of the season. And boy, I couldn't have been more wrong about the Vikings again. Jeez, oh Pete's, this sounds like a broken record. I keep telling you that the Vikings are going to lose, and they keep defying the odds and winning. I told you that Aaron Rodgers would come out, get his life together. That didn't happen. I said Sauce Gardner would be shadowing JJ all over the field, shutting him down. Only thing Sauce Gardner did was got out there and held on to people. He is a holding artist, apparently. Whatever. I still thought that they would get a win. And then, Minnesota got a pick six. Van Ginkel, back-to-back picks on A-Rod. The Jets are getting flagged in the secondary all over the place. I thought this game would be the game that Aaron Rodgers holds on to Robert Saleh's job for just a little bit longer. And, that also went up in flames when after they lost to the Vikings, Robert Saleh also lost his job as a head coach of the New York Jets, which most people could probably see on the horizon. I don't know if the organization and the team felt that way, but as an observer, it just didn't seem like this marriage of Aaron and Robert Saleh had worked out for the benefit of the Jets. Just an opinion from an observer, but we saw it coming and it happened. So now the Jets have a new head coach at the helm, and the Vikings have a 5-0 record going into a bye week. There's no way that anybody put money on the fact that the Vikings would win their first 5 and be going into a bye week with no losses. It's wild to think how good that Vikings defense has shown up and been, and really the kind of teams that they've been able to beat up until this point. So they got a bye week this week, and then they are coming back in week 7 to take on the Detroit Lions. I am really looking forward to that game, especially after we get through the Cowboys game and figure out what Lions team is going to show up there. Next, we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers. So last week I said take the Packers over the Rams because, I just didn't think that the Rams had enough firepower. And sure enough, that was the case. After their performance in the week before against the Chicago Bears, and still not having their top 2 targets, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, it just wasn't going to be a chance for LA to bounce back against the Green Bay Packers. I knew they would lose, and this was the one spread in the field pick that I gave you that was correct. Tucker Kraft scored 2 touchdowns. Jaden Reed had 88 in the air and 78 yards on the ground. Jacobs gave you 19 rushes for 73 yards and a rushing touchdown. Jordan Love only completed 15 passes, but 15 for 26 for 224, 2 passing touchdowns, an INT, and 2 sacks. Another week, Xavier McKinney gets another interception, now leading the league and having 1 interception in each game this year. That's 5 interceptions for Xavier McKinney, leading the NFL with picks. Jordan Whitman, who even knew who that was, 7 receptions for the Rams 89 yards. He was their top receiving target again without having their normal top two. They had to find somebody to catch the ball. Kyron Williams added 22 rushes for 102 yards, but the Packers still got the win, 24-19. So the Packers knock off the Rams, get another win under their belt, and now they are 3-2 going into Lambeau, going back home to take on the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think that the Green Bay Packers are going to lose this game against Arizona in Green Bay. Even though the last win that Arizona Cardinals had was last week against a 49ers team that is still a pretty good team. They just showed that on Thursday Night Football, and Arizona Cardinals were still able to knock them off. I do believe it's going to be a good game. It's going to be close, but Green Bay is going to win this one. Next up, we're going to talk about the Chicago Bears taking on the Carolina Panthers. And I told you going into that game, the Bears would win. I thought that Andy Dalton makes the Carolina Panthers a better team, but that the Bears defense was just too much. They had been leading the league in passing yards given up, and they were top 10 for points given up in the league. So what happened? They held true. Going into this game, they were averaging about 18 points given up per game. This game, they held the Carolina Panthers to 10 points, while also putting up 36 of their own. Caleb looked like a much better quarterback. The team really looked like they were coming together. They were clicking. And if this is the Chicago Bears that we see for the rest of the season, it will really make the NFC North a hot division when it comes playoff time. But again, we've got to see this consistency. And also, we got to be concerned with some of the injuries that could impact that defense's performance. And I'll tell you about those in just a second as we talk about the 3-2 Chicago Bears going into London, another London game for the NFC North, and taking on the Jaguars. And it's considered a home game for Chicago. Right now, they're 3-0 at home. They've only lost on the road. So hopefully this continues in London. But they are going to be missing Tyreek Stevenson's potentially and Jaquan Brisker with a concussion possibly. So those are two big issues for the secondary if those guys are not going to be there. Those are very talented players on the back end of your defense. You definitely do not want to have to run this game without them, and it looks like the Bears may have to. But the Jaguars are really struggling. So even if they are down a couple of players, I think the defense has enough firepower to stop the Jaguars offense. They just haven't really got it going, especially if they're going to be without Travis Etienne as well. And last but not least, the Detroit Lions. Now, they were on a bye week last week, but they will be coming into Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys after getting that bye week. So they're going to be refreshed and taking on a Dallas team that it went down to the wire with them and the Pittsburgh Steelers, an offense that does not score as many points as the Detroit Lions and don't have as many dynamic weapons as the Lions do. And so this should be a really good game for the Lions to show that they are still that top contender that everybody thought they were when they were coming in this season. So if they go in and get a win, which I anticipate they do, this will be a good statement win for the Detroit Lions and a bit of revenge from last year's I reported game. But that is future stay. Again, Lions coming off of a bye week. Let me take you to Spreading the Field and tell you about our picks for the week. And if I'm being honest with you all, which I like to be, I have not been giving you very good picks. Last week, I was 33%. The week before that, 33%. The week before that, 25%. In week 2, I was 50%. This has not been my favorite segment because I haven't made you much money. But hopefully that will change. So going into week 6, I'm going to tell you to take the Bears -1 in London against the Jaguars. This should be like a lock. Even if they're missing some folks on the back end of that defense, the Chicago Bears have turned a corner and the Jaguars have turned an opposite corner, heading downhill with only getting one win so far this season. So definitely take the Chicago Bears over the Jaguars -1. Take the Green Bay Packers -4.5 against Arizona. I do think the game is close for a majority of the game. Potentially Green Bay pulls away toward the end, but I got them winning by at least 6, 2 field goals. So they'll cover that -4.5 spread for Green Bay Packers. And I know the last win Arizona got was a scrappy one against the 49ers, and they probably bring that same mentality into Green Bay. but I just think that the Packers are going to get that win. And to close out spread in the field, I got another spread covering from the North. Take the Lions -3. I think the Lions are going to beat the Cowboys by 7 here and leave the Dallas Cowboys with a lot of questions about what they're going to do with the rest of this season, because the Lions are coming off of a bye week. They've got all of the time to work out all the special trick plays and things, game planning against the Cowboys. There's a lot here that the Lions have going in their favor. I just don't think that the Dallas Cowboys, coming off of that skimpy win against the Steelers, are going to have enough left in the tank to beat the Detroit Lions. That is our show for the day. I appreciate everybody coming along on this quick snippet for Headed North podcast. If you come back next week, which I hope you do, make sure you've got your bags packed because we are headed north. I'm Detrone. Peace.
Are you still talking about football?
Yeah, Robert Saleh, NFC North.
Then let's talk football.